Okay, nice to meet everybody. It's William McCost. Share my screen. ¿Dónde es la setting? Okay. Alrighty. Can you all see my screen? No, you can't. Look, okay. And share. You all can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Great, glad you have. Alrighty. Well, this is How to Grow Mushrooms 101. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
And rock and roll. Let's start. Who am I? My name is William McCost. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I've lived in Mexico for 2 years now, and I've been studying mycology for, I've lived in Mexico for 3 years now, and I've been studying mycology for 2. I've learned many different methods of growing mushrooms, different properties they have. I'm currently teaching people how to grow mushrooms as to make the community healthier and to give people the proper nutrition that they need. So to start, we're gonna go over some vocab. There's some vocab that you're not gonna know, such as LC. LC is liquid culture. Liquid culture is a protein substance. This is what our LC will look like after being inoculated. Inoculating meaning putting your mycelium in here. So right here you can see we got ourselves some mycelium clumps right there, and that's what LC is. LC is a protein base in which you put your mycelium in, and then after that it just continues to grow. SAB. SAB stands for still air box. So this is how we keep everything clean, nice, because when we're with mycology, it's like a pseudoscience, or not pseudoscience. It's a science of sort, where you have to keep everything clean, everything sterile. It's not like gardening where you can be a little bit more necessarily free-minded on how you grow your mushrooms. You have to do specific order of things, otherwise it's going to, well, get infected with mold or other things. Because you gotta remember, mushrooms and mold are the same exact thing, except they're different species. So whatever you grow, mold can also grow on it. So we also have monotubs. Monotubs is a growing compartment in which you'll grow mushrooms. And this is the easiest way to grow mushrooms, or not the easiest, it's the cheapest way to grow mushrooms for anybody that's new and beginning. Now, we also have a word called mycelium. Mycelium is pretty much mushrooms, but it is the rest of the part of the mushroom. You have 2 parts. You have the fruiting body, which a fruiting body is the mushroom, which is just a reproductive organ. And then you have the mycelium. Now the mycelium is pretty much the rest of the mushroom, which decomposes everything and pretty much gets all the nutrients and expands its roots and pretty much, well, not roots, expands its organism, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. Spores and mycelium, they get mixed up with one another quite a bit. They're 2 different things. Spores is a new genetic code of the mushroom, okay? And then mycelium is the genetic code itself. It's already genetic. Spores, you need 2 spores to come together in order to make 1 spore. So in order to create a new mycelium, what you need is 2 spores to come together. But you can also just take mycelium and just reproduce it and create 100 of the same exact genetic code, same exact. And then you have agar. Now, agar meaning a gelatinate which has a protein base in it, which we can grow our mushrooms in. Agar is a little plate. It's a little bit more advanced. You guys won't be doing that right now because that's more for testing your stuff, and that's more for doing genetic splicing, which I'm working on right now. And then flushes. Flushes is, as I said, you have the mycelium, and then you have the mushroom which grows on top. The flush is pretty much when it begins to grow out and harvest of this mushroom. And then after that, you can have 2, 3, 4, 5, a bunch of mushroom flushes from one mycelium brick, such as this right here. You can have a bunch. But over time they become less and less and less. And sometimes there's well, the telomeres begin to go off, and there's genetic mutations which can occur and create faults in your mushrooms. They won't look as pretty. So that's why most people throw them out after the second flush. Inoculate. Inoculate is when you in this context is when you take your this is warm. Is when you take a spore syringe such as this, and then you take a bag which is sterile, and then you put it in there, and that pretty much creates new mycelium, or not new mycelium. It creates mycelium, which will grow on the protein substance, the corn, and the liquid culture, and it'll grow on there, and it'll pretty much be inoculated with a mycelium, which will continue to reproduce. Laminar flow hood, that thing, we're not going to go into laminar flow hoods too much because that's far more advanced, and you guys won't be going over that quite yet. But laminar flow hood is just a flowing air towards the person as they are growing their mushrooms, or as they are doing work. So like when I'm doing this, I'd have a flowing air, which is very clean, very sterile, has a big HEPA filter, and I'd be doing my work with my mycelium at the laminar flow hood. Okay, now we're gonna go over what equipment do you need. This is a must-have. All these here, if you do not have them, you will not be able to grow mushrooms unless you were to use some technique that I've never heard of. To start, you will need a 15 psi pressure cooker. You all can hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Is the screen still there for you guys?
Not the screen though.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need it.
Hmm.
Give me one moment. Here we go. All right. Everything back online? Everything good?
Yep.
All righty. Let's there we go. So you guys heard about the 15 psi pressure cooker, yeah? So you're gonna need a 15 psi pressure cooker, a grow tent or a monotub. You're gonna need isopropyl alcohol, a disposable gloves. You're gonna need mason jars, grow bags. Mason jars can be used to grow mushrooms, or they can be used to create your liquid culture. It's all up to you at the end of the day. But you can use the jars for growing mushrooms, and you can also use them for liquid culture. It's totally up to you. That's a reusable source. Now, grow bags right here. Grow bags are a must-have if you want to do mass production in an efficient way. And mason jars are also a must-have. So one of these two, this one's reusable, that one is not reusable. Grow bags are used in mass production, but it's totally up to you guys how you guys want to grow your mushrooms. So what you're gonna need is honey or LC powder, syringes, and needles. You're gonna need them for these right here, so you can make your own syringes and you can inject them in there sterilely into your grain spawn. You're gonna need liquid culture lids like this one right here. You're gonna need SAB, still air box, pretty much a stereotypical scientific guy putting his hands in there and having to work and have to position his head all the time, putting his hands in there with the gloves and all that. Corn/grain, wood pellets or peat hulls, and mushroom mycelium, which you can buy from anywhere, such as Amazon. You can buy it you can pretty much buy it anywhere online. It's not illegal to buy mycelium unless you're getting that kind of mycelium. But for the most part, this mycelium right here, you can just buy online. You can buy it on Amazon, eBay, anywhere really. Alrighty. Now here's the actual stuff you guys are gonna want to learn. Step 1, you're gonna want to duplicate your LC, because you're gonna want to take this from one LC from one tiny little syringe to an entire syringe right here. I mean, to an entire bottle of it. This right here is about, I want to say 400 milliliters, maybe a little bit more, of liquid. And this right here, all 400 milliliters, can create one of these bags right here. So you only need 10 milliliters to put into one bag, and boom, you got yourself a bag that's inoculated. So this one right here is about 400. So what does that come out to? 10. So that comes out to around 40 bags you can inoculate from this one syringe. And you can make as many of these as you want. If you have one of these right here, you can take it out again, get another liquid jar, and you go, boom, you got yourself another 40. You can do that 100 times. Like, you guys can make a fortune just by selling mycelium alone, not simply just by growing mushrooms. But you're gonna want to duplicate them. You're going to get your syringes of mycelium, and you're gonna want to grow more than just one bag. So you're gonna duplicate it. You're going to clean and you're gonna do this in a sterile environment. I suggest doing this on a table, which you just rub down with rubbing alcohol. And then you're going to want to have no airflow whatsoever. Now, if this is a lab environment, I give you far different advice, but you guys are growing this stuff at home and in the kitchen. So I wouldn't suggest doing it in the kitchen. Let's start by saying that, unless it's like isopropyl alcohol cleaned. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your little needle right here and you're gonna flame sterilize it. Then you're gonna take a liquid, not a liquid, you're gonna use isopropyl alcohol. You're gonna stick it in the isopropyl alcohol, let it disinfect, stir it around a bit, pull it out, and then you're gonna inject it, your mycelium, it's mycelium right here, you're gonna inject it into your, right now, clean and sterile LC jar. You're gonna take it, you're gonna inject it in there. You're gonna make sure that you clean off this little injection port, you're gonna inject it in there, put about 2 cc's, 2 milliliters in there. And then after that, you're just gonna leave it for about 4 days. You're gonna shake it once a day, then move around, shake around once a day, like this. And you're gonna do that. And you're gonna do that once a day, 4 to 5 days. And after that, you can start taking more mycelium out there and you can begin to put it in grow bags. Or you can put it in your grain spawn. And yeah, that's pretty much what you gotta do. So step 1, clean off your syringe and clean off your, right, as you can see right here with my mouse. Right here with my mouse, you can see there's nothing in there. You take your mycelium syringe, inject 2 cc's in there, and then about 4 to 5 days later, got everything ready and everything in order. Now, the number one thing is you want to be clean. If you do not have rubbing alcohol, use 10% bleach ratio. Use 1 to 10 ratio of bleach and water. So just do that and you'll be just fine. So 10% bleach and water is pretty much all you need. And you can clean stuff down with that as well. Another question is, how is LC made and how does the LC work? Damn. And how does the LC lid work? I apologize. The LC with the professional powder is 24 grams of powder per liter of distilled water. Distilled water is very important. You don't necessarily need it, but if you want to have consistency, you're going to want it. But if you want to do this at home and you want to do this without having to buy professional grade, what you can simply do is get 1 tablespoon of honey per 300 milliliters of distilled water, put it into a jar such as this, mix it around, close the lid with your LC lid, or the one with injection port and a filtration right here. You're going to close that up, and then you're going to put tin foil around it, and you're going to put it in a pressure cooker at 15 psi for 30 minutes. So right here is a lid. It's very important that you understand what these two functions are, because you do not want to be injecting your filter with LC. So right here is injection port. Right here is our filtration system. The little red thing right here, which can spin around, which you do not want to spin around, is your filtration. And this right here, you do not want to touch, you just want to leave alone. It'll bring all the air in for the mycelium so that it doesn't die and so that it can grow much faster. This right here is our injection port. You're gonna want to take your mycelium syringe that you bought on Amazon or eBay, process sites, I hope, and just like that, and boom. You're gonna put about 1 to 2 cc. It's up to you. If you want to put an entire 10 milliliters in there, you can do that. And it'll be faster. Granted, at the end of the day, 2 cc's will do, and it'll be done in 4 to 5 days. You do the filter, the black circles. Yeah, I pretty much went over that. So this right here, the little black piece right here on top of the green lid, is just it'll self-seal behind it, so you don't have to worry about taping it up or anything. But before you do this, before you ever put in LC, I cannot say this enough. You want to sterilize everything. Cleanness is 100% needed. Like, you don't want anything, not even dog hair. I have a husky, and I've gotten dog hair in one of these before, and I was like freaking out because I was like, because you know, it's a dog hair. I was freaking out, and one of the batches went bad because it had some dog hair in it. So what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to make sure that everything is sterile, everything's clean, everything is good. Alrighty. Now, how to take mycelium out of your LC after you have waited 4 to 5 days and the mycelium is fully grown. 1 second. And it's fully grown. You will take a new clean syringe and needle and will flame sterilize the tip and dip it in rubbing alcohol to cool. Make sure you always disinfect the injection or before injections with isopropyl alcohol. I apologize, that got me off guard a bit. Oh, I just put it to the bottom. Heck yeah, I'm gonna do that. So, pretty much what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a new clean one of these, which will not be extended like this, it'll be closed. You're gonna take one of these, you're gonna carefully, with clean hands, you're gonna take it off. You have this injection port cleaned off right here as well. And you're gonna stab it in there, pull out your 10 milliliters, and boom, you got yourself a mycelium syringe ready to go. Come on, there we go. Step 2, making your grain spawn / grow bags. To start, you're going to want to make your own grain, such as corn. You're going to want to make your own. To start, you're going to want to take your grain, such as corn, and you're going to want to boil it until you can bite into it, but you wouldn't want to eat it. So like 5 minutes before it's finished, that is when you're going to do it. That is when you are done, and that is when it's ready. You don't want to be soft, you don't want it to be squishy, you want it to be firm, yet biteable. Like if you ever take a regular corn and you try and bite into it, you're not gonna be able to bite into it without breaking a tooth. But if you take it and you can bite into it, it's hard, but you can bite into it, it's good, okay? Now after that, you will air dry it. You will air dry it so it's no longer wet to the touch. And you must remember this. This is very, 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 very important. It is always better to be dry than wet. If it's too dry, mycelium can grow, you know, there's some moisture in there, it'll do. But if it's too wet, there's going to be there's going to be mycelium that won't be able to grow at the bottom, which will lead to an infection that can happen of your mycelium, and then you're not going to be able to grow it, and yeah, it's just bad overall. After this, you will take your grow bags and fill them up to about 6 inches maximum. So this right here is the grow bag of some mycelium that I've been growing. I believe this is, oh my god, this is cordyceps, no, lion's mane. This right here is lion's mane. So with lion's mane, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it up to about 6 inches maximum. I do not suggest you go up to 6 inches if you're a beginner. I suggest you get 4 to 5 bags and you spread out those inches between them, like 2 inches each, 3 inches each, however, and put a bunch in there, because at the end of the day, you are doing trial and error, and you're gonna try different techniques and you're gonna try different ways of doing it. For the most part, if you take my advice and use SAB, a still air box, you're gonna be fine for the most part. But other than that, you're gonna want to be cautious, and I'd suggest only doing about 2 to 3 inches maximum and doing a bunch of different bags so that you can get down the technique and be able to get consistent results. And then after that, when you get a bit cockier You can put about 6 inches in there and you'll be fine. Okay, then you're gonna take your bag and fold the leftover plastic under the weight of the corn. Then putting it into the pressure cooker at 15 psi for 2 hours and 30 minutes. So that doesn't mean like you put it in there, close it, set a timer for 2 hours and 30 minutes. That means that you're gonna wait a little bit, wait for it to get to 15 psi, and then you're gonna start the timer. So you want to be in there at 15 psi for 2 hours and 30 minutes, like at a consistent basis. You don't want to be like 10 psi and then be 15 psi. You want to be 15 psi. I had a bit of questions about this a little bit later on with my other teachings. Note, you can put more than one bag in a pressure cooker at a time. Some people believe that you can only put about maybe 1 in there or 2 in there at the beginning. I'm like, no, you can put 10 in there if you can fit it. It's gotta be able to fit it and make sure that it is in there properly. Make sure that everything is tucked under like it's a burrito, and boom, you should be good. So grain spawn is used in many ways, but is mostly used for molotubs. You guys will be using molotubs at first if you are beginners. But this method is also useful for sterilizing sawdust, which many wood-loving mushrooms love. So wood-loving mushrooms such as lion's mane, enoki, which I know some of you guys are interested in, enoki, oysters, they're gonna love some sawdust and we can work with that. What I might do if I were to grow enoki, what I would do is I'd do a ratio of 25% grain spawn to, I want to say 75%. No, I'm gonna put 25% of ryeberry, or not ryeberry, yeah, bran. 25% bran, then you're gonna want to put 50% sawdust in there. Then you're gonna mix that around in a sterile environment. I pretty much gave you guys a cheat sheet right there. Alrighty. What to do with your finished bag? After you have sealed your corn / sawdust with a heat sealer, it is now time to inoculate. With your jar of LC, with your jar of LC, so this baby right here, you're gonna take yourself 10 milliliters, 10 cc's, in a sterile environment, and you're gonna go into SAB, which I suggest you do. Go into SAB, take 10 milliliters out, and you will then take your LC and you will inject it into your sterilized bag, just like that. Boom, into your sterilized bag. You're gonna want to do this in a clean environment, of course. Make sure to rub this down with rubbing alcohol. You're gonna flame sterilize this and dip it in rubbing alcohol. You're gonna put it in there. You're gonna make sure that you're not breathing on it. You're gonna make sure no hair gets on it. You're gonna make sure everything is good. Other than that, you see that. Other than that, you're just gonna stick it in there and you're gonna put some tape over there, and boom, you're done. Alrighty, step 4. It's time to wait a long time. Well, not that long. Mycelium takes about a month maximum to colonize the entire bag when you're working with the mushrooms I work with and the mushrooms you'll be working with. Depending on the strain, and sometimes it sometimes takes around 7 to 15 days with mushrooms. Like oysters, lion's mane, cordyceps takes 40 days. I wouldn't say cordyceps. But now what you're going to do is you're gonna store it in a dark place that's cool. It has no light whatsoever to mimic it being underground. When everything is white in the bag, that's when you can start flushing. Good spots to place your mycelium while growing. So suggested areas would be the closet, under the bed, in a drawer, and in the fridge. Now you guys are specifically going after enoki. So you would want to put your mycelium in the fridge for about 15 days, 10 to 15 days. You're going to put your jars of enoki mycelium in the fridge for 10 to 15 days. And you're going to just leave your enoki in there in the refrigerator because they love the cold. And you're just going to leave them in there. And then after that, once they're done, you're going to take them and we're going to put them in a Martha tub. Or Martha tank, I apologize. But these right here are your suggested areas. Just make sure there's no light and you'll be good for the most part. Mycelium does not need light, mushrooms do. Step 5, flushing. in the wild, mushrooms have plenty of air and a constant wind flow. That's something we really need. Because of this, they get perfect conditions to grow and get nice and big. Mushrooms / mycelium breathe air, so when we flush them, we need to give them as much air as possible to grow healthy and to not be all stem. If you've ever tried to grow mushrooms before and you've got an all stem, you're like, what's happening? Why is this all stem? Why are what kind of mushrooms have stems? Why are my oysters all stem? Well, the reason for that is because you have not enough oxygen. So, this being said, another very important variable is humidity. Keeping your humidity at 75 to 95 is very important. Very important. You have no idea. So your mushrooms get enough water and know it's time to flush. If your mushrooms do not know it's time to flush, they're not going to flush. Like, you put them in a dry environment, or not dry environment, a regular environment, like your room, something like that, and you just leave them out, they're not going to know it's time to flush. So what they need is higher humidity, coupled by more oxygen flow, and they'll be like, wow, this is really good condition. I should put my spores out. And then it's going to flush. So there are two ways of flushing that you all will be able to do. Monotub method, and then we have a Martha tip method, which we'll go over in a minute. Now, the monotub method are used in many ways. Or two ways for the most part. One being substrate on the floor of the monotub, and one being a cake from your grow bag in the same shape found in the bag. So this right here, I'll just take this and carefully cut it and drop it in my monotub, and then I'll just spray it. Okay. Monotubs don't keep consistent humidity, so you will have to spray the monotub once a day. Along with keep the temp down. Like, if you don't keep it down, like, there's three variables when it comes to flushing. Oxygen, light, actually there might be four. Oxygen, light, humidity, and then there's also a buttload more of different variables, but it says I'm running out of time. There's a buttload of different variables, but for the most part, it's just light, humidity, and oxygen. If you don't have these, it's not going to work, okay? So you need to have the proper consistency for it to grow well. So monotubs don't keep constant humidity along with keeping the temp down. So the temp is also a big variable. You actually have four. I apologize. I had a brain fart there for a minute. So you have four for the most part. You have humidity, light, temperature, air. There we go. Okay. Unlike plants, so what happens is mushrooms consume air. So you need to have air, and you also need to have a good. I apologize. You also need to have a good amount. I apologize. The thing is missing a bit. And you also need to have a low temperature in comparison to where you're growing it. So if you were growing your mycelium in 25 degrees Celsius, in 25 Celsius, you're going to want to grow in 20 Celsius because you want there to be a sudden change in your growing. So the problem with monotubs, though, is that you're going to want to grow them. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to humidify them once a day, and you're also going to have to fan them once a day, depending on the setup you have. So if you have a monotub which has no holes in it, you're going to fan it once a day. And the humidity, you have to spray it once a day as well. If you do not have this, you're going to get it all stem, and it's just going to be something that you don't want at all. It's pretty much the cheapest way to grow mushrooms, yet the most attention needed. So, more examples of monotubs would be these right here. So as you can see here, on this one to our left, you can see that there are holes in it. Now, you don't need holes in it if you want to fan it every day, but if you want it to be more self-reliant, what you're going to do is you're simply going to put holes in it, put some cotton in there or whatever you might buy. You put some cotton or holes in there. You're going to put some cotton, you're going to put a damper on it So for example, what you're going to want is if you're growing mycelium with grow bags here, such as this, and you have a grain, you're going to mix it at a 50-50 ratio of, for example, what would I use? I'd use coco coir. So 50% coco coir, 50% grain spawn, 50-50 mixed in a monotub. After that, you will take that and you'll mix it around. You'll put it in a monotub, such as this one right here, the red one, or the one with the red caps right here. You're going to take that 50-50, and you're going to take another, so it's pretty much not, 50-50, mix it together, leave it in there, and you're taking the red caps and you put it all around there, and you're going to allow the humidity to go, and you're allowed to grow. Allow all that mycelium to grow with the mixture that you have here. So you have this mixture coupled by another mixture of coco coir. So 50-50 mix, you're gonna let them grow together. And then after that, you're gonna put another layer of coco coir on there at the same exact amount of this on top of it so that you can keep and retain moisture within your monotub, okay? So while you're doing that, just gonna retain your moisture. And then once you see the mycelium has come up to the top of your mushroom, what you're then going to do is you are going to take out these little red caps right here. And for example, these other areas didn't take and whatnot. You're going to take out these little red caps. You're going to put little sponges in there. In fact, this is what I'm using right now. A monotub such as this. You're going to put the sponges in there, and all you have to do is humidify it. No oxygen needed for like fanning it. You don't need to fan it or anything. All you need to do is to simply just humidify it once a day, and boom, you're done. So with that being said, monotubs are by far the cheapest version or cheapest way to grow mushrooms, but they are also the most time cost, like, do you value money more or do you value time more? That's really the big concern. Martha tent method. Now guys, I only have 5 minutes to go over all this. I have a free version of Zoom, but a Martha tent is pretty much a greenhouse with a humidifier and then a fan creating negative pressure. Negative pressure meaning it's pulling all the oxygen out like a vacuum, and it's pulling oxygen from the bottom of the Martha tent and going out through the sides and creating constant airflow. So this method is far more easy, yet more costly. With this method, all you have to do is take a fully colonized mushroom bag and plop in the tent, cut it open in one spot, and boom, your mushrooms with perfect conditions, and the Martha tent is just a greenhouse. All you have to do is it's pretty much a humidifier, a fan, and it's pushing out. Oh, it's pretty much pushing out with a negative. I apologize. I had a message there. So it's pretty much just a regular old greenhouse with negative pressure. So a Martha tent, it costs the most out of all of them, but it's the most time efficient. And this is something you guys would probably want for your restaurant if you guys are doing that. So here are some other examples. You simply have humidity going in and a fan pushing out all the air. So air comes in through the bottom. You have constant airflow going through. You can see a bunch of different areas. You can grow all kinds of mushrooms on here. Like any mushroom you want, you can practically grow, even an LP. And yeah, see all these examples right here. Now, knowing when to harvest. This is a big step and a big thing you guys all should know. There are thousands of different kinds of mushrooms, and it really depends on how you like them, okay? My suggestion is look them up online and do side-by-side comparison. When you get good enough, you'll be able to know simply by the day and the strain you're working with. So if I'm working with this strain right here, and I've been working with it for a long time, I'll know, hey, it's gonna harvest on the 5th day because I've been keeping the variables consistent. I've been keeping the humidity the same, and everything is just the same. So at the end of the day, it's gonna be harvested at the same exact time, and it's ready. But when the veil is broken, for the most part, that's a surefire way to know that most mushrooms are good. But you cannot always rely on that because there are different species that don't have veils that break. One last tip, if you guys decide to do gardening, the best garden mushroom, it's most easy to grow, is a wine cap. just take some grain, spawn, get some dead wood, bury it, and boom, it'll explode. Tasty mushrooms. So pretty much all you have to do is just take some grain spawn like this, sprinkle it around your garden, and it'll begin to grow. You're gonna want to bury it though, and want to give it some nutrition so that it can really kick off. All right, now that we're starting to wrap up, any questions on the current subjects? Nope.
Can you get that Martha tent on Amazon?
You can't get the setup on Amazon, but what you can do is you can get it on a website which I have a coupon code for, or not, an affiliate link for, which will get it for you like 25% off. I'll make sure to get that to you. Yeah.
Cool.
Where do you buy your culture?
Say again. I
Where
buy
do
my
you buy
culture.
your cultures?
I buy my cultures on Amazon, North Spore, everywhere pretty much. But you guys are interested. Let me see who's in the group. How many people are in the group does it say for you guys? Just you two?
I'm not sure. I can't see anyone else.
Okay. Well, you guys are interested in growing enoki, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So enoki you can just buy off Amazon, or you can buy it directly from a distributor online. But Amazon is a good place to start if you want to do that. But for the most part, that's a meeting. The meeting is about to end in 1 minute because it only gives me a couple minutes to start to do a meeting.
Quick question.
But yes, sir.
You said about flushing. If I have my culture in 25 Celsius, then I should lower 5 degrees. Is that difference of degrees always the same for all mushrooms?
No, you just want to have a tiny little bit more down so that it can like flush more easily.
Okay.
You just want the mushroom to be able to know, hey, it's time to flush. But other than
Okay.
that is the free class. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to contact me. I do ask that you guys please write a review, a 1-page review, and that is a review. I apologize for the cutoff at that time, but other than that was pretty much everything. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. My birds appreciate it back there as well. And have a hopping day.